Okay, welcome everyone. We wanted to welcome you to our February ICARE case conference. The title of my talk is Making an Impact Through ICARE, which will make sense. I'm Tuya Pal, I'm the founder of ICARE. And again, I wanted to present this briefly because we know that a lot of you recruit to ICARE, and we wanted to show you, because of all the success we've been able to achieve in partnership with you all, we've been able to, grow the registry and do a lot of research studies that would otherwise not be possible through ICARE. So impact is one of our studies, which is, again, the reason for the title of my talk. So impact stands for Improving Cancer After Inherited Cancer Testing. And this is a grant that Debbie Cragen at USF and I were fortunate to secure funding for within the last couple of years. And the objective of this study is to improve follow-up care after genetic testing for those with a positive result. So just to kind of give background to this, which most of you already know, when someone is identified with inherited cancer, if they have a cancer diagnosis, more and more it may guide their treatment. But beyond that, it also is an opportunity to guide cancer risk management as well as family communication. So the design of our study, it's a randomized trial, and really we're recruiting from two sources. One is our own Inherited Cancer Registry, and then the second source is the Tennessee State Cancer Registry. So through the study, what we first do is send out a baseline survey to really understand delivery of services and gauge eligibility for the trial. And the second part of the study is to actually start a trial, and it's randomized. We have one group that will get a family communication intervention, a second group that gets a cancer risk management intervention, and then we have a control group as well. And we do follow-up surveys following that. Even within the control group, our plan is to do an adaptive intervention around year 3 to again implement some of our learnings from the first couple of years of the study. So again, I wanted to give you a high-level view of what we've created in terms of interventions that anyone who does participate in the trial might be randomized to. So we have our family communication intervention, and this is a high-level overview of all the resources that are available to participants through this web-based intervention. So again, there are tools to decide whether to share the results, plan who, when, and how to share the results, choose materials to help with sharing, and then review support resources and others' experiences. And again, these are some worksheets that we've developed. And again, this has been done as a team alongside some qualitative data gathering as well. So a listing of reasons why people choose to share, as well as a guide to make sure all family members are told and plan next steps. There is actual material that an individual can share with their family members, like you see here. And again, we do have the family sharing letter that is automated. There's also gene-specific material that we've created. And then we have a video about sharing genetic test results with family member with some options to print information as well. And then finally, we have videos about others' experiences with sharing test results, again, to make it more personal for these individuals to realize that there are many other people in the same boat as them. Our second intervention focused on cancer risk management, we are using Gene Council's product, the Living Lab Report. And again, this gives you a high-level view of Living Lab Report, where, again, it's an intervention to improve cancer risk management in individuals who've had genetic testing and have had either a positive result or a variant of uncertain significance. So the result is issued by the lab, and then the workflow is the results are entered into this platform where the patient's living lab report is created. The patient's notified that this report is available. Patient can then access the living lab report on any device. And as information is updated, the patient is also notified about updates that may be relevant to them. And these are just some screenshots. And what you can see is there's robust information in this portal where they have a summary, they have a what's new section, an overview, they have specific medical management that is curated and updated as medical management guidelines change, which we all know happens pretty often. And then they have condition-specific information that, again, is updated. There is a patient email notification system, as well as a lot of figures to make it easy for participants to be able to go through and really understand what the content pertinent to them is. Now, I mentioned that through impact, again, one of the ways we are recruiting to our impact study is our ICARE registry. And again, I wanted to take this opportunity to kind of go through, well, what is ICARE? So ICARE, we found, we created it over 10 years ago now. And the whole concept was that we would provide education and resources and build partnerships with providers and patients through which we would then be able to grow our registry and perform translational studies. So again, I guess we've come full circle where we are now in the process of performing various different translational studies due to the growth of ICARE. This just goes through an overview. We have over 200 providers who recruit patients and or attend ICARE case conference. And you can see where we started in 2010 and where we are across the US now in 2022. With participants, we have over 4,500 participants. And again, they're scattered throughout the US. And you can see again how it's really grown to be across the US. Again, this shows the growth trajectory that we have been on. There are resources that we provide through ICARE, as many of you know. We have our monthly virtual case conference like we're having today. We do biannual newsletters, which again are available to anyone on our website. We also e-blast it to our participants as well as to our provider partners. Our website, again, has curated information that we've compiled through our newsletter as well as through our social media efforts. And then we have become active on social media over the last couple of years. And this is just an example of our posts that we've been putting out a few times a week. And they're meant to be informational, new information that's coming out that is pertinent to inherited cancers. We also link to the original articles. Again, we'd love for anyone who's interested to follow us on social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, or Instagram. And again, you can see here, there are some examples of very recent articles, like the recent article that came out on male cancer risks in BRCA1 and 2, as well as another one that just came out, I think it was in the past week or so, on breast cancer characteristics across inherited cancer genes. And you can see, again, all of this is available on our social media accounts. And again, looking at ICARE contributions, we've been able to contribute to many publications. And it's hard to imagine, but we've now hosted over 100 ICARE case conferences and then multiple newsletters and social media, which continues to grow. Now, the other piece that I wanted to highlight is when we built this registry, it's not something where people provide us with data and then they never hear from us again. So we were very intentional about making sure that we wanted to make information advances and, whether it's research or clinical information updates available to our participants. So really intentionally engage with our participants. So We do provide relevant clinical updates um, through our newsletter, through our social media channels, even through targeted emails of people in our registry. And I'll give you an example. When NBN was downgraded in NCCN, anyone with an NBN pathogenic variant in our registry got a specific email from us, letting them know that, hey, there has been this update. Same thing happened with anyone with a BARD1 pathogenic variant. So again, we're trying to be thoughtful about where can we provide individuals with information that may be of particular interest to them, which again, even in my clinical service, sometimes I find that a challenge, because we would see, for people we see back every few years, we would provide them with updates when we see them, but it's not necessarily in real time. We also offer various research opportunities, and I gave you an example with IMPACT that is being offered to eligible individuals in ICARE. And then we can, some people want to participate because they want to contribute to the bigger research mission, which again, many people are excited to participate for that reason, even alone sometimes. I also wanted to give you another example of what we've been able to achieve through ICARE, which is related to our current impact study. So this study, before we got our funding, we were actually able to do some work through our existing ICARE, using data from our existing ICARE participants to really start to understand cancer risk management and family sharing among women in our registry with inherited breast cancer gene mutations. So we did both quantitative and qualitative work focused on cancer risk management and family sharing. So what you see here with the cancer risk management among women with BRCA1 and 2, PALB2, CHEK2, and ATM is that overall there were high rates of bilateral mastectomy among BRCA and PALB2 carriers, which was also frequently observed among ATM and CHEK2 carriers. The other thing is the risk-reducing oophorectomy rates were high among PALB2, CHEK2, and ATM carriers. So again, there's been limited information thus far on this topic area. So we felt that it was important to put out some of this type of information. We've also done some qualitative work focused on BRCA, and we're in the process of doing additional work looking at the other genes as well. Looking at family communication, again, we've done both quantitative as well as qualitative work. And what you see with the quantitative work across the genes is that in general, as degree of relationship is further removed across all of the genes, people tend to share less information, and testing rates also become much less. And again, not necessarily a surprise, but people tend to share more with their female relatives versus their male relatives. And that is across all of the genes, many times highest among BRCA1 and 2, but again, substantial rates across all of the genes. We also were able to gauge what was the interest in the various types of material that people may want to help share information. And that guided how we set up our intervention that we are now testing. And in terms of qualitative data, we've also looked at motivators as well as challenges and barriers through data we collected through individual interviews. Now, on the topic of women with breast cancer who have an inherited breast cancer gene mutation, what we've also started looking at are the differences in breast cancer characteristics across inherited breast cancer genes. And again, we're looking at breast cancer receptor status. And what we've seen is it's not necessarily a surprise. We know that triple negative breast cancers are more common in BRCA1, but we within our registry, it's fairly representative in terms of what we're seeing for some of the other genes as well. We also are going further, looking at breast cancer treatment, what is happening within our registry by gene, as well as types of surgery that folks are pursuing with these genes. And again, this is an ongoing effort. We are presenting this a poster at the upcoming ACMG meeting on this topic. And then finally, along with my colleague, Dr. Sonia Reed, we're going further with these genes to characterize breast cancer across these women with inherited breast cancer gene mutations. So we are doing both tumor analysis as well as germline analysis, which I'm really excited about, to, again, improve our understanding about how the tumor germline interact and what are the pathways to tumor development. So that is something, again, that is in the works, that is only, we're even in the position to be able to pursue this line of work because of all the support we've received with the participation in ICARE. And so finally, again, you guys have all heard about our PALB2 focused efforts that we're recruiting to, through our registry. There is a study that we are conducting in collaboration. Kelly Metcalf is leading this study, my colleague in Toronto, focused on breast cancer treatment in women with PALB2 mutations. And again, we've recruited a lot of carriers to ICARE and contributed to these research efforts. We are also starting to conduct or pursue similar studies in CHEK2 and ATM carriers. Now, as a result of our recruitment in PALB2, we were also able to contribute to Dr. Mark Tishkowitz's efforts focused on refining risks among PALB2 carriers. And again, we've had a really wonderful collaboration with Mark. As a result of that, we've also started working together we put together an international panel to put out a clinical practice guideline focused on PALB2. And again, it was something that Mark and I co-led along with Doug Stewart. We're doing similar efforts, or we're pursuing similar efforts in CHEK2 and ATM. So again, I think, much of this we were able to contribute because of ICARE. This is certainly work that many, many people have been involved in. A big thank you to our provider partners and patients. And we remain tremendously grateful for all of you for being involved in ICARE, without which none of this would be possible. We have a great team at Vanderbilt, as well as fantastic collaborators at the University of South Florida, great community advisory panel. And again, a lot of this would not be done without the support of our funders. So with that, I am done with this presentation. I think we can just take a few questions, after which we can go on with the case conference. I'm seeing a lot of, Brenda, do you have a summary for me for all of these questions? Are there questions I need to address?
There is one that's asking any studies on impact of PRS in various genes.
Say that again.
Are there any studies on the impact of PRS in various genes?
Not from our group at this point. I know that there are other groups that are starting to look at the impact of PRS. I'll tell you, there was that I'm familiar with, there is a study coming out of OSU that's funded, Ohio State University, looking at PRS that I'm really excited to see what they find. I think it's being led by Kevin Sweet, who is a genetic counselor. And Leah Center is also involved, but that's a study that I'm aware of. I know Mandy Toland is also involved in PRS and implementation types of studies, but
Georgia said that she may have some information regarding eMERGE. About eMERGE. Emily is asking a question about, is there anything in particular that ICARE is doing to try to reduce disparities in regard to the benefit health improvements that people are getting from their genetic test results?
Yes, so impact is very much focused on that. Part of our efforts are focused on disparities. We are recruiting through the state cancer registry in order to increase the diversity of our participants, right? Because again, a lot of folks in ICARE are not necessarily a population that's underserved, but we want to make sure that we include populations across demographic characteristics. So again, if there are populations, or if you have populations that might be interested, we'd love to have them enroll in ICARE to be eligible for impact. Georgia, I see you're on the line. Do you want to say something about Emerge?
Yeah, hi everybody. This is just a follow-up of the PRS question because there's a lot of activity about that and lots and lots of information. One study that Vanderbilt here is very active in is a study of applying PRS for several conditions across 25,000 people out of 10 sites across the nation. And so some of the conditions are cancer related. So breast cancer and prostate cancer are two of those conditions that we're looking at. The use of PRS, ability to identify, and comparison to a very, very small set of monogenic gene testing that's done. And so that's one. And then NIH has a separate, relatively large PRS study where cancer focus is part of that as well. And I'm not part of that, so I don't know that as well. But there's information that's going to be coming out very soon on the applicability of PRS.
Yeah, that's going to be something emerging very quickly in our field.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, as everybody knows, depending upon which lab you use, it's possible to get a PRS for breast cancer, but the meaning of that is not clear.
But now I'm hearing, Georgia, that there are labs that are offering it across populations. I just haven't delved into the data to know how good that data is, I guess. I mean, and then there are some labs that have pulled back until they can offer it.
Correct. So it's called, they're trying to use, I think, the term cross ancestry or modified by ancestry, and there's differences between diverse populations on how well a specific set of SNPs might work for a specific condition. And so that's some of the methodologic issues that people are really trying to tackle right now. So I think the bottom line is a PRS that you might get from one lab might be different from a PRS from another lab. And the baseline data that created that may or may not be different, and it may or may not be applicable across all population groups.
Yeah, and I guess the whole problem is when you look at the GWAS data, there is such clear underrepresentation of anyone that's not white, right? Like all other populations are tremendously underrepresented. So again, I know that it's being rolled out, but I guess time will tell in terms of accuracy.
Yeah, but there are many active projects trying to rectify that gap in data.
Yeah. Okay, I see another question from Cindy. Yes, patients don't have to have a pathogenic variant to be referred to ICARE. Absolutely correct. Robin Palmer is asking, PRS not ready for prime time. I mean, based on Georgia and I'll just say what I think Georgia would say. I don't think it's ready for prime time. It makes me a little nervous, the PRS stuff. If it is a matter of screening, I feel more comfortable. If it's a matter of surgery, I do not feel comfortable recommending surgery based on a PRS score. I have another question here.
Right.
What is the benefit?
Can I just add one thing?
Yeah,
The Triarcusic and the Boadicea programs that are mostly based on Northern European background are incorporating and can incorporate PRS into their assessments. So it's actually possible to use now. I think the issue is the answer you get. What are you going to do about it, and do you have the confidence to make those recommendations, as Tuya was saying?
Yeah, you know, the other thing, I'm just going to give a shout out to CanRisk. Again, it's got a bunch of genes that you can, so CanRisk is a program developed out of the UK. I don't know if Mark Tishkowitz is here. He can give you a little bit more information about it.
I am. Okay.
Oh, perfect. Why don't you talk a little bit about CanRisk?
You can put me on the spot. I am going to do a talk on this, I think, in a couple of sessions' time. So I don't want to steal my thunder.
Yeah, I mean, don't just give us the punchline, and then you can give us.
Well, it's a tool that CanRisk is really the front end of Boadicea. So Georgia mentioned Boadicea, which is the algorithm, and but it was never very user friendly. So I used to sit in the clinics trying to do a Boadicea, and then it was always a disaster. So we kind of persuaded the Boadicea team to make it more clinician friendly. So if you go to the CanRisk website, you can get yourself a login, and it's very, very intuitive. We've made it really nice. You enter in all the demographics, lifestyle. You can enter in PRS if you want. You can draw the pedigree there. The pedigree programs, I think, is not great. I mean, I tend to draw the pedigree program elsewhere and import it. It's all very easy to do, and then you get nice outputs as well, which are patient friendly with infographics. So it gives you both the mutation probability for a nice large panel of breast ovarian cancer genes, but it also, for unaffected, it also gives you risks for breast and ovarian cancer. So it's a very useful tool. I'm looking forward to doing a presentation on it in a few sessions' time.
Yeah, and the reason this I think is super important is we're going towards personalized risk assessment, and this type of program enables us to do it in the clinic setting, because
absolutely, yeah.
Right, like, because BRCA1, BRCA2, you're probably not going to adjust risks all that much, but we see so many check2s, ATMs, and you could actually adjust it up or down in terms of risk with this type of program. So
yes. I think that's going to be its strength, essentially, and it's being used widely. So do it's quite easy to find on the web, and then you just you can register and go from there.
Okay, Mark, there's a question from Emily. How do you enter the PRS to CanRisk? I've never really known how to do this. For instance, if you have PRS from Myriad or something you can enter. Yeah, okay,
you have to, if you look at the PRS section, there's a drop down. It's only optimized for certain PRSs. So I don't think Myriad have ever shared with us what their actual PRS is. So we can't actually parameterize it and add it to CanRisk. So there are some if you go to the CanRisk section, then you will see the menu there, and there's a drop down of the CanRisk of the PRS profiles that have so far been parameterized, so you can use them. And there are things like the BCAC 313, which is the one that was published, I think there's some sort of research-based PRSs as well. But we have to have the data from the companies to incorporate them into CanRisk. So if they don't share the data, we can't do that.
Okay, so Mark, I have a comment from Monique Tiffany, who's at Myriad. She says there is a raw score of risk score PRS in the report now. So I don't know if that means you may want to revisit that.
Yeah, well, drop me an email and we can see.
Yeah,
it'd really be a case of talking to the technical people who are running the program. Yeah,
I can connect you to Monique easily.
Yeah.
I'm actually interested in that because the Myriad experience, because it was my belief that they were taking also clinical parameters So not just the PRS score, but they were modifying it somewhat. So a little bit like putting it into some of the other risk programs. So there would be a raw score and then there would be a modified score. And I thought what was being presented in myriad reports was the modified score, but maybe I'm just totally wrong.
Yeah, no, that would be interesting.
I could be wrong. It's happened before.
I'm not familiar enough with this stuff. There's a question from Melissa Gandhi. What is the benefit for patients who do not have a pathogenic variant to be part of ICARE? So I'll tell you, again, once they're in the registry, there may be other clinical or research updates that would be of interest to them. For example, in the newsletters, as new genes come out, we would put that in our newsletters, in our social media posts. We also, like, as new technologies for testing come out, like RNA is, I guess, the latest technology that's kind of hit us over the last few years, that would be there. So it's a way to empower them to be able to know what is new and coming down the line, and also recruit them for other studies for which they might be eligible, whether it's focused on care delivery or focused on genomics.
Can I respond to Robin has one question?
Yes, yes.
That the models that include PRS have not been validated. I think that's population specific. Mark probably knows much more about this than I do. So it kind of depends on what your validation step is, what your set of SNPs are, what the condition is, and the population. So there's not one size fits all right now, I believe, from learning about this as just being part of this project.
Well, thank you all for the lively discussion.